Marjorie Taylor Greene has been hit with an election challenge. Voters in the state of Georgia have filed an official legal complaint with Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, arguing that Marjorie Taylor Greene is ineligible to be on the ballot in November and forever on past that, because this new legal complaint says Marjorie Taylor Greene aided and abetted and encouraged the January 6th insurrection. So, according to the 14th Amendment, she is disqualified from holding public office. Now, this legal complaint, again, was filed by voters in the state of Georgia. They are represented by the group Free Speech for People, and Free Speech for People was actually one of the groups that was involved in the 14th Amendment challenge of Madison Callthorne up in North Carolina. Now, that one didn't pan out. And of course, there are a couple other election challenges, by the way, taking place in the country. None of them have a good chance of being successful. And for the record, that is not a knock in any way against any of these groups or any of these voters. Free Speech for People is a phenomenal group, and I am glad that they are doing this because it needs to be done. However, we understand that the deck is stacked against us, and we have to be realistic about these kinds of things. None of these challenges are going to be successful. But this particular one actually does, believe it or not, have a chance of being successful. And there's two reasons for that. First, let me read this from the complaint. The publicly available evidence establishes that Greene helped facilitate the insurrection before, during, and after January 6, 2021. Specifically, the evidence shows that she either helped to plan the attack on January 6th, or alternatively, helped to plan the pre-attack demonstration and or march on the Capitol with knowledge that it was substantially likely to lead to the attack and otherwise voluntarily aided the insurrection. Some of this evidence was brought to the attention of the public in an October report by Rolling Stone, citing reports from organizers of the pre-attack demonstration. In the weeks leading up to January 6, Greene publicly stated that violence might be necessary to keep Trump in power, calling the date our 1776 moment. So, they've got their arguments put forward, right? Pretty sound. But here's where it gets even more sound, and this is reason number one why I think this one actually has a chance of being successful. They're using Marjorie Taylor Greene's own words against her, because this is what she said, and this is in the complaint, in a video posted right before the insurrection happened. You can't allow it to just transfer power peacefully like Joe Biden wants and allow him to become our president because he did not win this election. He's guilty of treason. It's a crime punishable by death is what treason is. Nancy Pelosi is guilty of treason. First of all of that is not true. The election was not stolen. Joe Biden did not commit treason. Nancy Pelosi did not commit treason. But those are her words. That's our 1776 moment that she said at some point in that video as well. And to me, that does seem clear as day, calling for violence. I mean, hell, almost calling for the death of the president-elect. Sorry, that really does seem to fit the definition of somebody supporting or encouraging an insurrection against the United States. That's my opinion. Of course, I'm not any of the legal people that have to look at this, but that's my opinion. So is that alone enough to get her kicked off the ballot? Well, it could be, actually. It just depends on venue, right? I mean, if this goes in front of a Republican judge or any kind of Republican election boards, of course they're going to throw it out, right? I mean, that's the real hurdle that some of these things face, which is why Free Speech for People filed it with Brad Raffensperger, Secretary of State for the state of Georgia. Now, of course, Raffensperger is a Republican. So is Marjorie Taylor Greene. But let's be clear here. There are really two different kinds of Republicans. There's your classical, just straight up evil Republicans, people like Brad Raffensperger. And then there's your crazy lunatic nutjob Republicans, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Raffensperger has been on the receiving end of the attacks from people like Greene, but of course, definitely from Donald Trump. This man has had death threats from angry Republicans because he would not overturn Georgia's election results. This man knows firsthand how dangerous this kind of rhetoric coming from people like Greene is. So that's reason number 2 why I think this one has a slim chance of being successful. But even that slim chance is still greater than any of these other election challenges out there. And I hope, for the sake of this country, that this one, above all else, is successful in keeping Marjorie Taylor Greene off that ballot in November and for all of eternity. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel? We also encourage you to like, comment, and share. But again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.